experiences in the tunnels. Interview with King Smarty about his experience with reptilians, recorded October 27, 2024. Edited and remove background noise, excessive F-bombs, minimize Sue's wows and other non-essential comments. Exact words but streamlined and edited. Unfortunately, we lost a bit due to background noise. King Smarty is cooking dinner for us while we're talking. So he's cooking while we're talking. It's crazy. There is noise in the room and people playing videos and on their phones, so some of this was not clear. Smarty. Oh, imagine having an army full of geniuses and they all had the same bloodline. Well, that's why we're bringing them in. Sue's note, referring to the children he'll be having. You know why the Queen Reptilian or the Reptilians were in power. Because the reptilian queen kept breeding with everyone within her own bloodline, even her own offsprings. They literally made armies of themselves doing that. I'm going in and out the tunnels. The first tunnels we went to were in Washington, D.C. We went in and saw everything that they were doing, sacrificing them, and Dad showed us exactly what to do. I did it naturally, meaning I went in there and I just started going hard on them, pulling them by their tails, grabbing them, putting them against the wall, splattering their faces like that. B was right behind me watching the whole thing, and he said, "Wow." That's why Daddy pops him on his head when he says wow all the time, which is why he can't say why wow no more. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Sorry to mess it up. It's just funny because now that I say wow so much, I think of B saying wow so much. It's funny. Okay. Sue, you were under the White House? Smarty, yeah, we were underneath the White House in the White House tunnels. B says, oh shit, right? And I said, you saw that? And he says, yep, I saw it. And I said, oh shit, it's going now. We were going in and out of these tunnels, and it felt like there was just our imagination, but we quickly learned that we were actually there. It was a form of teleportation, telekinesis, remote viewing, and energy transfer all at the same time. But it felt so freaking normal that it was, this is what it is. Do this, do that. And at one point in time, I had to stop and I asked B, am I allowed to do this shit? Because I was killing them all, right? Sue. And what was his response? Smarty, I did a lot I wasn't supposed to do, but the result was that you were made for this. That's what Dad said. That's what he said. He said, this is your job. Okay. So the next thing you know, it was just like the Highlander. You know how in the Highlander movie, when you chop their heads off, when you're taking all of their abilities and all that? That's literally what was happening. Look at the goosebumps, literally what was happening. I was just flinging them up in the air and just slicing and dicing. Sue, you were having the best time. Smarty. Now remember, I just told you that the reptilian bodies are like armadillos. Yep, the armor is super strong. You can't kill them unless you know exactly what you're doing or if you have the right tools. That being said, they got hearts in their armpits and then you got them through their genitals because they're the soft spots. The way I was doing it was a sword that Daddy gave me because of one of the missions that we did prior to that. Before all of this, we were doing space, meaning they were out in space. Actually, no. After we did that, we started doing space, everything in outer space. And every time we did a specific mission, that would give us more tools. Swords like hammers, exactly like a fucking game. It's so odd how it's like a game, isn't it? Axes, lasers, lightsabers like Star Wars. He would give us all types of different tools that we had. And every time a different event or a different mission came along, he would say, hey, remember what I gave you? Use this for that, this, slicing and dicing. So that's literally what we did. We moved into different states of consciousness, taking care of shit. Sue, this time in Washington, did you not have weapons? You did it naturally, like you said? Smarty, I did it naturally, just by myself. Sue, okay, about how many reptilians did you take out then? Smarty, it was like 10 to 15 of them. It was a little bit more than that. More than that. I was going through the tunnels fast. Go, go. Yeah, so once we got wind of it, I went in, and that's when they started running. So that's when I started going in after them. And these little fuckers went so fast that I was like, oh shit, watching them go back and forth. And they were moving so fast that they were just passing and going and this and that. What came naturally was me teleporting in front of them and catching them one at a time. And I do this so fast, they were all like, what the fuck just happened? And by the time you know it, that whole entire base was cleared up. And there's evidence of it all, videotapes of it all. The military has it all because we literally were leaving shit for them to come and see. So we're going to see that in the future. Sue, and about what year was that? Smarty, around 2016 or 2017, right before I started the Jedi sessions on the Real Truth Call. Okay, all these recordings are still recorded. To get the exact time frame, you just have to go back and listen to the calls. And those calls are on our Bubble Up group. They're saved for us. Sue, what was the next event that you had after that? Well, it was between space and underground. It was between space, underground, and at the same time healing the world and the free hollows and the chains and the pendants and everything. It was all happening at the same time. At one point, I asked Daddy how we were able to do all this, and he literally says because he multiplied us. He multiplied me like 100 times. We went through 10 times, up to 100 times. I even asked him to get multiplied even more, but he said no. Sue, are you still multiplied 100 times? Smarty, yep. Everywhere else has been easier than Earth. Sue, everywhere else has been easier than Earth? Smarty, yeah, because out there we have all of our abilities. There was a time when we were literally going from galaxy to sections to realms and blah, blah, blah. And every time B would get hit, we would trace it. It came from sector blah, blah, blah on the seventh galaxy, blah, 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 blah. Then we would trace the hit. And after we traced the hit, once we got to wherever it came from, we would take care of the ones who did it, the ones who sent it. And in some cases, more like 2 cases, I took the entire planet out. Sue, really? Smarty, yeah. The entire planet was dark. Yeah, there was no coming back for them, so Dad gave the order and boom, it was gone. And all of this is documented because you have to understand the secret space program was in place for a very long time, and they've been out so far right. Some claim that they went to the outskirts of the universe, which isn't true because it's so big. They might have gone out to the outskirts of this galaxy or the next galaxy, but they're nowhere near where we're from. Sue, and how old is the secret space program? Smarty, a couple 100 years. Sue, for real? The 1800s? Smarty, yeah. That's why nobody believes none of this shit because nobody was told the truth. However, there's bits and pieces of it coming out everywhere. Then the whole concept of whiteness. Sue, when did they introduce, say, white people, Caucasians? Like, how long have they been on this earth? Sue's note, sorry, tons of editing here, so the answer and what he said is unclear. I had to delete paragraphs. Couldn't hear it. Smarty, there were different planets that have different types of humans on them. They mimicked what you would call the white ET guys, Nordics, those types. So that's why even some of the Nordics are not Nordics. They're actually reptilians disguised as Nordics. But what they did was during the Hitler times, they wanted to do a superior type of race. So that's why they promoted the white race. However, it was nothing but a genetic variation. That's what they're doing in the tunnels, by the way. They're genetically modifying humans with different species so that they can get a different type of feed, different type of blood, so that they can use it to stay in power. So that being said, they took the white race or the white skin colored beings from different areas of the galaxy, brought them here, and then put them in charge when there was already a species of melanated humans here. So that's what it's all about. So, all right, everyone get that point, right? The white races were not natural to Earth. They were brought in from other areas and also semi-created. That's a big deal. Because look what they're doing now. They're putting the white races as superior. It's all about changing the races and then using us as cattle. That's why they say it the way they do so openly, because that's literally what they were made to do. Remember, I said they were made to do certain things? Well, that's what happened. They were made to do certain things. Even when they say we were all made in the image of God, that's not even true. Because how? Dad made everything. So, you understand what I'm trying to say? It's not true because we're all different. So, how are we made in the image of our Creator when He doesn't have an image or He can be anything He wants to be? Exactly. Right. So, a lot of it is coming out to be exposed exactly what happened. Right now, we're not even worried about none of that because we're still exposing everything that's already been taken care of. There are already stories of dark melanated beings crash landing, and the beings that were in were a superior force, if you would. The military are afraid of them because they warned us to get their shit together or we're coming back. All right, I said that wrong. They were warned to get their shit together or we're coming back. And that was us. So Dad's been doing things in a certain way to prepare these guys that all this stuff was happening, and it's in their best bet to get ahead of the curve by following Dad's will, following what Dad wants. Even the valiant Thor story, okay? Same deal. We can help you guys. We can do this, we can do that. And the answer was no, we don't want your help because it would mess up the economy, right? So, what it was really going to mess up was the fact that they were taking our children and putting them in underground bases and having their way with them, slicing them and making all these other different types of beings and feeding off them. Jeffrey Epstein, there's a video of him having a half breed pinned to the ground and then using a magnifying glass and then burning it. Because after they burned it and the being was tortured, that being would produce a different type of adrenochrome that was even more powerful. So that's why they would torture them. That's why they would torture them because now they've got something that's even more powerful than a regular human. Now you see the reasons why they had all these humanoid farms everywhere, like Jeffrey Epstein had over there. All of it has to come out. We're not doing partial disclosure. We're doing a full disclosure and we're right in the front lines of it all. Because of us being here, it's guaranteed, just like I've been saying. The world is not ready for this shit. I don't expect them to be, and I thank God that it doesn't matter if they are or not. So that's where we're at with it. It's over. It's over. Sue. Wow. All right, so interesting. Smarty, like I said, there's nothing that's going to stop this, and there's no way that full disclosure is not happening, especially with me here. Dad put me here to get all this shit done, and a lot of people are judgmental toward me, but they don't even know what I'm capable of. They don't even know what they're talking about when they say blasphemous things and all this other shit when I claim to be who I am, right? Because these people are based off of what they were taught, which isn't true. You understand what I'm saying? All of that shit is out the window. I can care less about it all. You can call me whatever you want because that's going to be a point. There's going to be a point in time where you're going to be so embarrassed, not only embarrassed, but so regretful that you call me these awful names, not realizing that I saved your ass and the planet you live on, right? At the same time, I don't pass judgment on them other than calling them a fucking idiot, right? But like I can condemn them in ways that they never thought were possible. However, Dad doesn't let me do that, and it's not the right thing to do. Let them talk. Because when they found out all this shit, it's going to be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. What can I do to help you? And then I'm going to be like, just go do this, do that, and stay the fuck over there in the corner. Stay away from us. That's what you could do to help us. We got a lot of work to do. For those that aren't with us, you're against us, right? That's my thought. Sue, I guess we do. Smarty, and the whole COVID thing, people, they just don't learn. How was it safe to go to Walmart and not to other places? Sue, I know. Smarty, that's why Dad let it happen. That's literally why Dad let it happen because he wanted the people to realize how stupid they are. And it's not their fault. It's just how they were trained. You know, it's the fact that you think you have to retire, get old, and die. That's a fucking program that I'm deleting, right? You get all these people just like the video I posted. Do you know anyone that died of old age? I don't. They all died of something that was plaguing the body, right? There was a 72-year-old lady that I just posted using coconut oil, eating healthy, fasting, and all that. Look at her. Matter of fact, look at Cisco right here. He's talking about James Cisco. Look at him. He's 100 years old. He looks like he's 20. Sue's note. Cisco was only 71 and he is quite fit. But what I'm saying is, no one dies of old age because it's not even a thing. Remember that back in the day, Saved by the Bell? Okay, well, people were getting these types of illnesses and problems and blah, blah, blah. They would get buried in the backyard, and then the people would put a string on their finger hooked up to a bell. And then 3 days later, just like Lazarus, boom, they came back to life. Why is that not happening now? You want to know why? Because once you die and you're clinically reported as dead, they start to embalm you and cut you open. And then you don't have a chance to come back to life, just like how they're taking the organs from people. That's another reason. Sue. So all of this is being revealed. Wow. Smarty, all of it, all of it, all of it. The hardest part is going to be the children's part because when everybody realizes that none of it had to happen, it's going to be mind blowing. The fact that the people are doing it, when they realize that they never had to do that and they could have lived forever and all they had to do was work hard for it and follow daddy's plan, they're going to be sick because they're going to find out they were bamboozled. The ones that decide to come forward now may be able to live a long life or up till daddy decides to take them too. Or we may just enforce their old age, right? The energies that are changing on our planet actually is doing a lot for them. That's why you see a particular type of person who looks old and weary and all that because of the way the person is and lives. The darkness around that person. The darkness is literally consuming them in a way that they didn't understand, and they were bamboozled to believe that aging was the case. It's all coming out, all of it, all of it. And that's why we're in positions now to start putting out free energy devices, start putting out free healthy holograms, putting out natural remedies like CBDs, and all the different products that we're forming right now is because we've done everything to free the people from it all. My advice is to get all your ideas together. Start forming new, healthy companies and help restore the earth, or just sit back and watch us do it because it doesn't matter to me. We're going to do it anyway. Your best bet is to get on board, create, produce, and do it in a way where it's going to be healthy for the planet and for the people. Here's another kicker. The people that we're dealing with and the entities that we're battling, they don't realize what we realize. We're not going anywhere. That's what they don't understand yet. This dog eat dog mentality and all these rules and regulations, all the people trying to interfere in what we're doing and all that stuff, they can come in and buy up some property from us and we'll wait 100 years until they die and then buy the property back because we're not going nowhere. You see what I'm saying? Sue. Yeah. Smarty, they don't understand what's happening. And the only way to survive all this shit is to get right with Daddy, and then you'll have access to the chambers and everything Daddy wants you to have. Other than that, it's all over for you. You know, the buck stops here. This is the last cycle, and it's over. Sue, thank you so much. Smarty, oh, we got so much more to talk about. We'll just keep going. Everything's all fake. Everybody just has to hurry up and wait.